Now, about January 6th. This morning, a special committee of the House of Representatives will convene for the first time to begin an inquiry into the events of January the 6th. It's important we do this. January 6th was one of the darkest episodes in the history of our democracy, the first time the Capitol was breached since the War of 1812. In both the run-up and aftermath, vicious lies about our elections fueled dangerous conspiracies and mob violence. We must establish a trusted account of what transpired on January 6th, what and who caused it, not just the people in the building, as bad as they were, but many others may have been involved as well. And I'm hopeful that this inquiry will get to the bottom of that. We have to do this to make sure that such an event is never repeated. But let me say, Mr. President, we have traveled a very sorry road to get to this place. The special committee in the House was forced into existence because Senate Republicans and Leader McConnell blocked the formation of an independent commission, appointed on a bipartisan basis, to report on the events of the 6th. We had modeled it on the bipartisan 9/11 Commission, but Leader McConnell stood in the way. How did we come to such a moment? Well, in the immediate aftermath of the attack on the Capitol, the House Republican leader said that President Trump, quote, bears responsibility. The Republican leader warned of a death spiral for our democracy if election lies told by the losing side were to be believed. Republicans of all stripes, many in this chamber, demanded accountability and answers. But in the last 6 months, all that courage and truth-telling has evaporated into smoke. All that courage and truth-telling has evaporated into smoke. What a shame for the Republican Party. The House Republican leader deputized members of his own party to negotiate an independent commission with Democrats, and once they did, he stabbed them in the back and instructed his members to vote against it. Weeks later, the House Republicans fired the only member of their leadership team willing to call out President Trump's election lies. House Republicans are now likening January 6th to a peaceful protest and a normal tourist visit. Again, I'd commend to people the New York Times video, 40 minutes, that simply documents what happened. And it's appalling to see one of the Congress members say this was like a normal, peaceful visit when you watch the violence that occurred before your very eyes. Here in the Senate, the Republican minority mounted a partisan filibuster to prevent this chamber from even debating legislation to create an independent commission. Is that amazing? Every Democratic member was appalled that they wouldn't even let a debate on whether to have a commission go forward. 4 months. That's how long it took for House and Senate Republican leadership, who denounced former President Trump in the aftermath of January 6th, who said they held him practically and morally responsible. 4 months was all it took for Republican leadership to back down, turn silent, and then thwart an independent investigation into the January 6th attack. So today, the House begins an important task under the only circumstances that congressional Republicans would allow. I have no doubt that House Republicans will engage in efforts to discredit even this, the work of a bipartisan panel of investigators. They'll dredge up the same dreary talking points. They'll call it a witch hunt. They'll call Republicans who participate Pelosi Republicans. They will cheapen the public discourse even more than it's already been cheapened and do their level best to sow distrust about any account of what happened on January the 6th. For what? Fear of Donald Trump? The belief that their political viability hinges on whitewashing an attempted coup? Who knows? But let the record reflect that the House will proceed with this important investigation, and it will be done by members from both parties, and that it will get at the truth. Now on student loans, final matter. Right now, across the country, there are 45 million student loan borrowers who owe $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. In good times, paying off tens of thousands, sometimes hundreds of thousands in debt can be a crushing endeavor, particularly to younger people ready to go out in the prime of life. But during this pandemic, as Americans lost jobs and incomes, it has become even harder to pay back those loans. Fortunately, the federal government provided a lifeline for tens of millions of borrowers when they ordered a pause on most federal student loan repayments last spring. Of the many steps the government has taken to respond to the COVID crisis, this has been one of the most effective. Unfortunately, this pause will expire in a little over 2 months, even while many student borrowers are still piecing their lives back together after the pandemic. So later today, I will join Senator Warren and my House colleagues to call on President Biden to extend the pause on student loan payments until next spring, to give Americans more time to get back on their feet. Along with Senator Warren, I believe that the Biden administration should go even further and cancel up to $50,000 in student loan debt per borrower. With a flick of a pen, President Biden could give a fresh start to tens of millions of borrowers drowning in debt. A fresh start, just what they need as the country begins a fresh start as we recover from COVID. Today is as good a day as any to cancel student debt. I yield the floor. I note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Baldwin.